Welcome to Breakdown SEC versus the Big Ten. JJ, it's Thursday, February 22nd. We've
Mm.
been we've been away for a while.
We have been away for a while. We had to come back to celebrate the upcoming holiday that's taking place tomorrow.
All right. You know what? There's so much to talk about, but we have a limited amount of time. We're going to break down some stuff. What do you want to start with, JJ? Football, baseball, basketball, tiddlywinks. What should we start with?
Well, we've neglected basketball long enough. I think, like it or not, the unfortunate reality is the 2023 and 2024 basketball season is here upon us, especially for us Arkansas and Michigan fans over here. Hasn't really been going the way either one of us had hoped.
Definitely not for those Razorbacks. But I tell you something about the Razorbacks, JJ. They have been building a beautiful house, brick by brick by brick.
Yeah.
The basketball team gonna have a house. Okay.
Yeah, they're gonna have a palatial estate, huh?
The Wolverines as well.
Yeah, Arkansas. They at least beat Duke, beat Texas A&M. They have some wins to show for themselves. I mean, Michigan is they've rolled over twice, 3 times.
There's another team here in East Lansing that's been so unpredictable for me, JJ. When the season started, I had them contender, top 4. And you know what? As poorly as they have played, and they played poorly at times, they disappear. March is around the corner. Magical things seem to happen in March for Michigan State.
That is true. That is the time of year where Izzo's squads normally congeal the most and come together, and that is their time of year. But this year feels a little bit different. Xavier Booker was a top 10 freshman all-star, and he hasn't really gotten any playing time. He can't really do a whole lot. I mean, he has a lot of talent, but it's still unrealized at this point. The other freshman 5-star got shot, Jeremy Fears.
Yeah.
The most productive freshman right now is the super athlete out of Georgia. What's his name?
Drawing a blank.
I can't remember either for whatever reason, but he's been their best freshman this year. But Michigan State has the talent. They still have the backcourt play that, given the matchups, I think they have the leadership. Tyson Walker, I think, has been hurt.
Yeah,
I think he has not been healthy this year. The past few games specifically. But if he can be right by the end of March, by the time they make the tournament, assuming they do make the tournament.
By the middle of March. First of March, because the end of March, you got to be there. But, JJ,
it's actually got pushed back a 1 week.
True, that's true. If I had told you that near the end of February that one of the conferences, SEC or Big Ten, one would have 6 teams ranked in the top 25, and the other would have 2 teams ranked in the top 25, which conference would you predict would have had 6 ranked in the top 25?
Going into the season, I would have said it would have been, the Big Ten.
And as of now, they have 2 teams, Illinois and Purdue, ranked in the top 25. What's going on?
Both of them coming off of losses too.
That's true. And the SEC has 6 teams ranked in the top 25.
Yeah, but they have a few of their ranked teams also have sustained losses recently.
True. And there's things could change a lot between now and the tournament start, but it just seems kind of strange. Things happening.
There's a bit of a chasm right there. A lot of teams haven't lived up to their potential in the Big Ten. Michigan State was a top 5 projected team. At one point in the time, Wisconsin was in the top 15 in the country.
True.
They fell off a cliff. Michigan State fell off a cliff.
JJ, the 2 conferences, Big Ten and SEC, one of those conferences has the premier men's player and the premier women's player. Mm-hmm. Which conference would we be talking about and what players?
It's got to be the SEC, right? I mean, LSU is the reigning national champion team, and it's not them?
No, this conference had the premier men and the premier woman.
Well, that must be the Big Ten then.
It must be the Purdue has
Purdue, Zach Edey, and everybody knows
who Iowa.
Caitlin Clark is. Yeah, probably the most prolific basketball player in the country, men's or in college.
Exactly.
Yeah,
she has outscored them all. Be putting on shows. So So we got these premier players, and I know it's still early. I'm gonna go there anyway. Which conference gonna do better in the dance?
Oh, I don't think it really matters. I mean, I think they're both going to be barbecue chicken for the Big East and for the Big 12 this year. I think the Big 12 and the Big East are going to do a lot this year. I mean, that's my prediction. I don't think the SEC or the Big Ten is going to do too much. But I would say the SEC might do a little bit better than the Big Ten this year. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they should have more opportunities.
I'm not gonna count out Michigan State.
Yeah, I wouldn't count on Michigan State.
I'm not gonna
either.
count them out. And Jay, I don't want to stay too long on one such subject, but before we leave basketball, Ohio State in the middle of the season a couple of weeks ago fired their head coach. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, they fired their head coach.
In the
Chris
middle of the
Holtman.
season, you okay with that?
You know, it's not outside the realm of like possibility that Ohio State can make a tournament. So I think
True.
it's interesting that they chose to do it now. I think it's kind of like how Syracuse fired Dino Babers in the middle season because they didn't want him to go on a run, and I think Syracuse did go on a run. They became bowl eligible, but they saw the upcoming schedule was going to be favorable, and they just didn't think that they could get donors on board to give a lot of money and bring them back.
Okay.
So I think that's what happened with Ohio State. I think no matter what, if they make the tournament or not, the donors were fed up. Like whoever pays the money over there for the basketball. I mean, Ohio State is obviously a football school, but they have such a enormous student body. Some of those guys like basketball too. Whoever pays the checks over there for the basketball team must have pulled the plug. It was like, no, I am not gonna.
That's a good point, and that's more of the case as we go this time of year.
And look what happened immediately after he got fired. What
They
happened?
won. They beat Purdue.
The number one team in the country in Zach Edey. So I mean, I think the players, under Jake Diebler as the interim coach, I think they were. I mean, they didn't shed too many tears. I don't think over Chris Holtman.
Okay, the world has changed though, because typically you don't fire a coach in the middle of the season, and in a different sports, JJ, typically coaches don't voluntarily leave head coach's position to take coordinator's position. That recently happened in football. Ohio State. What's your take on that? And tell us what happened and what's your take on it?
Yeah, Chip Kelly left the position of head coach of a now Big Ten team.
Some Big Ten team. August 1.
Whenever. The next game that the USCL plays
Right,
will be
the
for
Big Ten.
the
True.
Big Ten. So he left that post to be an offensive coordinator. I think he did what was best for him. Chip Kelly has always he's notoriously loathed and despised having to recruit. He just wants to coach. He just wants to drop the X and O's. He doesn't like the periphery to it. That's why he left college for the NFL the first time.
Okay.
And nowadays you have to recruit your team 365 days a year.
That's true.
You have to recruit the players on your team. You have to recruit the players in the transfer portal. You have to recruit high school freshmen or high school freshmen, high school sophomores, high school juniors. I mean, you have to recruit. You have to do so much recruiting.
What?
That's one of the reasons why I know it's a different sport, but Villanova's head coach Jay Wright. That's one of the reasons why he decided to retire. I mean, we're in an era where you're making so much more money than coaches used to make before.
True.
You're set up. You have the ability to leave when you don't when you want to. Like Chip Kelly's gonna make good money as an offensive coordinator,
A few millions here or there.
and he's gonna do it in Ohio, where it's gonna go a lot further than Los Angeles.
But this is my question. How valuable is this move for Ohio State?
Well, they needed somebody to fill in. I mean, Bill O'Brien left to take the open Boston College job gig, which opened because their head coach decided to become an offensive coordinator in the NFL. Because, honestly, these guys are getting sick of the NIL and the recruiting and everything that comes along with that. It just adds variables to your job.
Specifically, on a scale of 1 to 10 for Ohio State, where would you rank this addition, this new offensive coordinator?
I don't know. I mean, I think Chip Kelly's a decent offensive mind still, but I think he's a little bit stubborn. He's held on to some principles that.
Do you think his brand of football will advance Ohio State? And his brand of football is pick him up, put him down, run, shoot, the gun. I mean, he's an offensive mind. No more 3 yards in a cloud of dust is is Ohio State built to perform that kind of strategy?
They already had a protege of Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly, Ryan Day was a quarterback for Chip Kelly when they were at New Hampshire together. I mean, he learned how to coach under Chip Kelly. I think I don't think it helps, honestly. I think diversity of thought in a locker room is a lot more beneficial. So, but I think Chip Kelly is more than competent. I think when you get the transfer running back from Ole Miss, when you get Caleb Downs from Alabama, I think Ohio State's just fine.
Okay.
And I think their offense is just fine. I think they have the Jimmies and Joes, and I think they have. I don't think they're going to be deficient in the X's and O's.
Well, let's talk about their number one nemesis,
Okay.
Michigan Wolverines. How many players did they have invited to the combine?
The most in the history of the Combine.
They had 18 players got invites to the NFL Combine. Does that mean Michigan is going to fall off like a rock next year, or they're going to have the Jimmy and Joes as well?
They're projected to have the Jimmies and Joes next year as well.
Okay.
If you're familiar with Bada Elliott and his S&P Plus advanced metrics that he's been recording for ESPN since 2019, he has Michigan as the fifth most talented team, returning team coming back next year. So,
after getting 18 invites to the combine,
well, their best defensive player, Will Johnson, is a sophomore. Their second best defensive player on that team was also a sophomore.
okay.
So they have a couple of guys that were not eligible for the combine, luckily.
Okay, and a new head coach going into next season. But so it's still going to be a Michigan-Wisconsin year this year, 2024 football season.
Wisconsin?
Wisconsin, well, excuse me.
No, I don't think. I mean, Luke
Ohio
Fickell.
State, Ohio State, Michigan, Ohio State.
Yeah. I mean, Ohio State is projected to have the second best record in the conference per Bill Connelly's S&P Plus, his advanced metrics. Not in the conference, in the country.
Okay.
Georgia is number one in the country. Number two is Ohio State. Then Michigan is number 5. Then Oregon is number 6, and then Penn State is number 7. So,
You know what? I just love football, college football. I love college football. JJ, what about the playoff? They just changed the format, right?
I think Oregon might be number 3. Yeah, they did change the format. They went from a 6 guaranteed automatic qualifiers, conference winners, qualifiers, and 6 at-larges. Well, with the dissolution of the Pac-12, in large part due to the Big Ten's cherry picking of the Pac-12, they changed them out to a 5 and 7 model. That was long expected. The only holdouts were Washington and Oregon State, as they had an incentive to want to hold out for a little bit.
Exactly.
I'm not sure if they're getting money on the back end. I'm not sure how this is working out for them, but they eventually gave in and voted so that passed unanimously.
So the 5 conference winners automatically get into the college football playoff.
Yeah, the Power 4, and then whoever is the highest ranked group of 5
Okay.
conference winners. That's how it's going to work.
And then 7 at-large guys.
Yep, 7 at-large guys. And if Notre Dame and the first 4 teams, the top 4 teams, well, they get a bye, but then
The first week, and after that,
then they get to host. They get to host playoff games unless you're Notre Dame, in which case you do not get to host a playoff game, because one of the conditions of the agreement was you have to win your conference, and unfortunately for Notre Dame, they do not have a conference to win.
Interesting. Wow. And the format right now is 12 teams. They're talking about increasing it the year after this one, JJ, the season after this upcoming season, going from 12 teams to 14 teams. Will it stop at 14?
No, I think it'll go to 16. I think that's when most people think it's going to peter off for a while. I don't think it's feasible to go. I mean, I think 32 teams might be feasible. I'm not sure. What does the FCS currently play? I think it's 32, right?
I don't know.
It might just be 16. I know they play at least. I know it's at least a 16-team playoff for FCS.
Yeah.
But I can't remember if it's 16 or 32.
And and to me, 16 would be probably about ideal.
Yeah, I mean that's more than enough. I mean,
I like 12 myself as well.
yeah, 12 is enough. Like I'm not gonna cry poor for the 13th team. It's.
Right.
It's different this year when Florida State went undefeated and didn't get the opportunity. I feel like no matter what sports you're in, if you go undefeated, you should get the opportunity to compete for a championship. But I'm not gonna cry poor for the 13th team. I don't like at this point. I don't care. Like everyone that deserves it will get in.
Okay. Well, JJ, we've basically been skimming the top of a lot of things. We haven't talked in detail, especially about basketball. At some point, and it won't be this episode, but at some point, I want to go into a lot of details about basketball because even though the Razorbacks and the Wolverines won't be in the dance, there's a lot of basketball that to be talked. But
Yeah, March is a week and a day away.
I do want to talk a little bit baseball.
The floor is yours. Talk away.
It's baseball season. The Razorbacks picked number 2 to start the year. They are 3-1 as we talk right now. They've won 3, but I'm talking this weekend is a big baseball weekend for Michigan and for Arkansas. They're going to go down to Arlington, Texas. Going to be 4 teams down there. Oregon State plays Arkansas. I forget who Arkansas. Oregon State and Arkansas played in the championship game of the World Series
let's
a
not
few
bring
years
that back
back.
up.
And Arkansas, if they had caught a foul ball, they would have won it all.
Yeah.
But then, no, Sunday, this coming Sunday, Arkansas plays the Wolverines. I gotta go somewhere and sell my house and put my money on the Razorbacks. What say you? You're a big Wolverine fan.
It's February. It's Black History Month. The only baseball I want to talk is Negro Leagues baseball, if that.
Okay.
You know what?
Okay.
Go teams. I turned into my fiance at that point. It's just like sports ball.
All right. Well, JJ, like I said, we've skimmed a little bit of everything. What did you want to talk about that we can talk about that doesn't take up too much time?
I think we've covered a lot of the basics.
You don't want to go back to basketball, college basketball, right?
We talked about the hirings and firings, the transfer portals.
Well, I want to do one thing in football.
Okay, what do you want to talk about?
There is a quarterback who just bought a Lamborghini. The prices of a Lamborghini starts at $270,000. This is an SEC quarterback. Do you remember the days when football players and athletes in general talking about they couldn't have enough food to go home for the weekend? And now we got Carson Beck driving around Athens in a 270 Lamborghini. I would have loved a life like that. What is that? What's your take on that?
My take on that is whoever the Lamborghini dealer is in Athens, Georgia, is loving the publicity of being able to rent out or lease out.
He bought this one.
Oh, he bought it?
He paid, yes.
Okay.
He bought this one. And who knows, why did he do that? Because
that seems like an interesting purchase.
Yeah.
That seems, good for him.
More power to him, that's what I say. But JJ, we can call it a slow down day for today and turn it off and get ready for the next one and focus on basketball and let you know who's going to win it all in basketball. If it's not Arkansas, maybe it's somebody else. Maybe it's Purdue. Maybe it's Alabama. Maybe it's Tennessee. A lot of good teams out there. You ready to call it a show for tonight?
Yeah, I think that's all, folks.
WPS still Sunday, Michigan. I feel sorry for you, son. I hope Arkansas doesn't win by more than 30. I take that back. I hope they do win by more than 30. We out here, JJ.
Joe Burrow's getting healthy. Watch out.
WPS, go Big Suey. Next
Okay.
time, America.